you arrived, it was like, what? Are you good? No, come. Let me watch you fight.
You really need to be that aggressive about it, my man?
Smoke.
Well, don't mind if I do.
Death will not take me.
It ends here. As Orion ordered. So much destruction. And for what?
Yo, mama.
did you learn to fight?
Yo, mama. Is this really considered fighting?
Quick, before it reaches town. Well done. We're almost there. I'll see you ahead.
Impossible.
Impossible.
Nothing is impossible for Kim Possible. Yeah.
Grail was just telling me of your battle. I
Uno
am
momento.
one of the Keeper's Council. One of two. There should be more of us here. They're gone. Balthus and I remain. Not you even could they sure do this, and our alliance is secure. We'll lend our aid to heal Borea's army.
Portal.
You'd
watching you. Hmm.
Impossible.
It ends now! It ends
So we filed this, I think 3 or 4 days ago. In our October 3rd,
October 3rd.
opposition pending motion to dismiss, and for the sole purpose of causing defendant Stephen K. on the second. Plaintiff falsely asserted that he experienced sexually explicit contact with a minor. Specifically, plaintiff claimed to have identified Rose as censored name. Some of this has to be redacted, some of this is under seal. The purported recipient of the video, Bonnell, allegedly transmitted in April 2022 based on plaintiff's purported investigation. She alleged that Ms. Blank was a minor at the time she supposedly received the video and falsely concluded that Bonnell had exchanged sexually explicit material with someone who was under the age. So if you weren't following this, they basically decided to try to stick in a footnote in one of the filings. We hired a private investigator. That was a lie. They lie on everything, I guess, but it's okay. They just went by what was posted on TV phones. They lied and said they had a private investigator, and then they said that, and they decided to put in a footnote, this girl was a minor. It has no bearing on our case whatsoever. They're just using whatever filing they can use every fact. Not only is plaintiff's allegation knowingly and demonstrably false, but also the age of the reported recipient of the video is irrelevant to plaintiff's claims, and has no bearing whatsoever on whether this court has subject matter jurisdiction here. So they managed to, well, not they, but somebody in Discord's Discord server threatened the victim and her family across multiple email accounts. All of Discord's Discord server knows this. I think I've shown pictures of that. I think the Save a Sexual dude, but basically harassed them and threatened the family until they contacted Joan Peters in order to sit for a deposition. Unfortunately, that deposition was a fucking train wreck for the subhuman Phil Pixie and her counsel. And what we find out during the deposition is that this person never was in charge of any of the accounts that they've ever been posted publicly online. So the Twitter account, any Cash App account, the Discord account that apparently I was talking to for 2 or 3 years was actually ran by another guy who you should be able to understand how unbelievably fucked everything is related to. So that comes out in the deposition. I think about halfway through the deposition, Pixie and Joan basically just started accusing the girl of lying because that's all they can do at this point, because now they've lost completely on their subject matter jurisdiction related to the video transfer date for this person, because the international sex trafficker dude is in the UK, so that explains the timestamps. And then the fact that I've never had a conversation, apparently, with this girl means that their footnote is also incorrect, which should have never been there in the first place. And so, obviously, after the deposition, we made a request from them, like, hey, can you file a correction on this? Because we kind of were just like sticking this in public filings. I think they don't respond maybe for like a week. And then he said, hey, we basically said if you don't do this, we're going to file a Rule 11 sanctions against you. And then I said, well, if you file a Rule 11 against us, we're going to file a Rule 11 against you. And it's like, okay. Listen, you said on at least 2 occasions you had phone calls with. I thought I talked to this person on the phone, but apparently I didn't. I know that it mind fucked some people who get something wrong from 2 or 3 years ago. I know that in the court of Discord servers, opinion and TV forums, that if somebody says something at some point in time, you can use one message to try to win an entire court case. There's a reason why this case is dead. There's a reason why none of that is true. And I know that it's fun online to try to have like one message, like, well, you said one thing, so it must be wrong, blah, 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 blah. But unfortunately, that's not how the big boy world works. And you have to actually like build a case using real evidence and not a single sentence or a single case. Keep in mind that at the time I'm talking to Pixie on this thing, remembering my conversations with this girl, well, it's mostly a girl, but I guess there's some creepy fucking weirdo on this account the entire time. I am standing in the shower, getting notified that 27 plus videos or whatever may have been posted online. The majority of them are just fucking single solo masturbation videos. So, sorry if my memory recollection wasn't absolutely flawless or perfect at that particular time of time. But I know that you love the single messages, that's literally all you people have, so knock yourself out. The record is the record. Get fucked. As an initial matter, plaintiff and her counsel have been on notice of the falsity of their allegations since at least October 23rd, 2025, the date of the person's deposition. At the deposition, she testified to a bunch of things. Rather, she also testified a whole bunch of other things. Bonnell did not share any sexually explicit material with. This is the Rose account, or the Rose person, the underlying person, or any other minor. In light of this testimony, Bonnell demanded the plaintiff file a notice of errata and corrected opposition without the false and defamatory allegation included therein. Despite this demand, plaintiff and her counsel have failed and or refused to do so in violation of their obligations under Rule 11. The court should impose appropriate sanctions. I think Rule 11 just has to do with like filing things that I think Rule 11 just has to do with like making sure the stuff that you file with the court is truthful. Destin, you said they were fairly close to you, to Pixie too, because this was a person who I thought was fairly close to me. I'd had 2 or 3 years of conversations with this person. Yes. Yes. factual background on September 19th, 2025, final file of Epocin Hardcore the operative complaint on the ground.
That's so much better. It really was just a bit of melee shit. Huh.
Transmission of the video preceded the effective date of the federal statute, which forms the basis of the complaint. Pixie knew this from the very beginning as well.
Worthless, anyway.
Maybe more will come out about this, maybe not, but basically, I can say with 100% certainty that Pixie and Lauren have been collaborating to hide and obscure evidence. When I keep complaining publicly, and I keep saying, they're not giving me discovery, she's not giving me discovery, she's not giving me discovery, that's bullshit and I'm lying to you. I know why they're not giving me discovery. It's because the both of them have collaborated on destroying stuff so that they have nothing to turn over to me. That's what I really meant when I was saying that, but that's what's been going on the entire time. That's why I said I'm going after Lauren's legal license as soon as this case is over. I'm going to be trying to file the mother of all fucking bar complaints in Florida to get her shit filed. And then Pixie, if you're fitness or whatever bullshit, dog-ass law school she's going to. On October 3rd, plaintiff filed an opposition to the motion, in the opposition. Plaintiff falsely asserted the bundle exchange sexually explicit with a minor, in a wholly relevant footnote. Plaintiff falsely stated, after finally ascertaining Rose's legal identity, plaintiff has obtained evidence that Rose's date of birth is October 30th, 2004. Maximum bundle was exchanged photographic content of Rose between March of 2022 and October 30th, 2022. Rose is a minor. Referencing the footnote that they put in this filing. To support her basis claim, plaintiff identified blank to refer to Rose, and to demonstrate that Ms. Blank was a minor at the time of events alleged, plaintiff filed a copy of Ms. Blank's official certification of Department Motor Vehicles driving record, to the opposition. On October 23rd, plaintiff deposed Rose in Rockford, Illinois. At her deposition, Rose testified to a bunch of things. Basically, this is more or less that I've never communicated with this person ever in my entire fucking life, which was a mind fuck to me, but their lawyers not realize how absolutely unhinged and unprofessional they look. To be honest, I'm surprised the judge hasn't come out yet and said you guys need to, who knows, we'll see when the ruling's I mean, I still a non-zero chance. I just wanted the motion to dismiss, but they don't care about looking unhinged about this. Is a purely 1 trillion %. Just look at whatever people say about me and they'll probably just about that. This is just a spite-driven endeavor where Pixie and Lauren are doing everything they can to cover for an actual international fucking child porn producing sex trafficker because they just want to keep hitting my litigation. That's the only thing this is at this point. But Final did not share any pornographic content with Blank or any other minor. Plaintiff and her attorneys know this now. On October 30th, 2025, counsel with Bonnell sent a letter to plaintiff's counsel demanding the plaintiff file a notice of errata and corrected pleading to retract plaintiff's knowingly false allegation in her opposition. To date, plaintiff's counsel has not provided a substantive response to the letter, nor have they taken the corrective action requested. Rule 11 of the Federal Rules of Procedure provides some pertinent parts. I've heard blah blah blah. All this, like you should. Here, plaintiff's false allegation of final exchange pornographic material with a minor included for improper purpose, namely to publicly humiliate and harass Bonnell and so the opinion of him. Critically, the age of the purported recipient of the victim, of the video, no bearing whatsoever on the make this action.
That
No
is too
bearing on whether the court has subject matter jurisdiction in this case, which is the threshold issue subject. Moreover, plaintiff and her lawyers have been on notice of the falsity of their allegations since at least October 23rd, 2025, yet they have failed and or refused to correct their knowingly false and unsupported contention in their position. Plaintiff and her counsel's refusal to correct this egregious and intentionally inflammatory misstatement warrants Rule 11 sanctions. Would you prefer not to win on the motion to dismiss so you can get subpoena info from Lauren for her no, I'm never getting anything via subpoena from Lauren. Her and Pixie have been maliciously and intentionally covering their trail and doing stuff to make sure that nothing will ever be produced from her that will be incriminating. This has been in place since the very start of these proceedings. So it doesn't matter if anything happens court-wise or any of that, it literally doesn't matter. Yeah. For the reasons stated herein, Bonnell respectfully requests the court sanction the plaintiff and her counsel jointly and severally. Pursuant to Rule 11, this is a transcript from the deposition. This is under seal until, I don't know if this technically ever gets censored or not, I don't know. This is our email that we sent to them saying, hey, correct this because this is not true. It's on October 30th. Oh, you have to give them a notice before you file a Rule 11. I think of 3 weeks before you can file it. I don't even know if they responded. I was going to say that they were going to file a Rule 11 against us, or we file a Rule 11 against them, which I don't even think you can do. I don't know if that's... Wait, I think they didn't respond to the Rule 11 sanction request in the 3 weeks. I think they just said that if we file one, they'll file one. That was it. So, I'll get the Jones motion soon. We've got a lot of stuff to post for this guy as well. So Esports Batman is one of the only fake lawyers left in Just Bill's Discord server that likes to poke holes in this. I just want to say that a few weeks ago, I laughed about the fact that people were like, how could any of this possibly be true? Like, it seems so unbelievable. True, thank you. I agree. It does seem really unbelievable, which is one of the reasons why it was such a mindfuck. So, like Joan Peters and Pixie, they have switched gears into saying that, oh, well, the other girl must just be lying about everything, because there's no way that any of that could be true. If that's the road that you want to go down, then feel free to do whatever you want. Remember, no matter what happens, I have to be the devil. Literally, every horrible thing in the universe must originate with me, and if anything else seems to say otherwise, that thing must be lying. But I thought she was impersonated. How does she know exactly what happened if someone else was acting as her? I'm not saying she's lying. Just she can't know everything if someone is impersonating her. You can't have someone testify to personal knowledge if they weren't there / involved with the event. So the person who was operating the account, who was catfishing me with her stuff. So this is a common thing that these fucking retards keep bringing up. They're like, oh, well then, how did you get, tell me again, Destiny, how is it that she's wearing your fucking merch, haha. Because this guy ordered it, sent it to her house, had her take pictures of it, and then posted those pictures of her in my merchandise to me on the catfished account. This person went way the fuck beyond to try to mindfuck and catfish me and make me, to ensure that I really thought this person was who I was talking to. So, yeah, if you think it's incredibly fucking crazy and unlikely and weird and whatever, yes, welcome to my fucking life. But you also could just accuse, the actual victim of all of this as somebody who's lying over and over again with absolutely no evidence. But, yeah. Did he order it from your store? Did you have his payment details then? Yeah, I would. The issue is that all of my legal work initially was going to be plaintiff work. Also, ignore everything I'm saying, because apparently I'm lying about all of this. Despite the fact that multiple people have seen this packet that I was putting together, but everybody says I'm lying about this on just the server, because that's fine. We're all accepting it. But the initial firm that I was working for in New York was going to be plaintiff work to go against the person who used everything. As soon as the defense work started, the plaintiff case took a back, not a back, because I can't support psychologically or monetarily the run two lawsuits at the same time. Okay? So, theoretically, the payment information would be available from the person who initially the person sold to. That was the road that I was going down, but in order to get the information from them, they would release it to me because it includes addresses and everything else without a subpoena. Since I didn't file that lawsuit yet, because in your case, because you weren't ready to file that lawsuit yet, I didn't have anything there that I could use to legal pressure against them.
Well, tell you what.
So,
let's get out of here first, and then I'll
anyway,
explain.
That was our filing on December 1st.
These peace talks are hardly worth it if you don't know
filings
why your life is after us.
Oh boy. Alright, number 1. Plaintiff Jane Doe, motion to modify the scheduling. Plaintiff Jane Doe, by and through the Outer Council, and pursuant to federal rules,
Since the third shot is always
this is her begging to
it uses multiple
back
laws.
discovery, despite the fact that they've found nothing, produced nothing, done nothing so far, and have operated in the most bad faith manner possible, including but not limited to fabricating a person like Abby, who's clearly like fucking mentally ill or has brain injury, to get a statement from her and then refuse to produce her for any deposition, have not sat her for deposition at all. We've got no statements, no evidence, nothing from her. They simply got a piece of paper the night before our evidentiary hearing, and then off into the wind she fucking disappears. Despite the fact that initially they said they fully represented her, and then apparently they changed their mind on that, and then they said they represented her for matters of the subpoena, and then they changed their mind on being able to provide us information about that. So they literally just stuck a fucking post-it note on this girl's mentally fucked brain, and then sent her out into the wind so that they can keep the case long enough for whatever the fuck we're at now. There is no excuse and no reason why they couldn't have sat any of these people for deposition, why they couldn't have filed anything earlier for Melina or anybody else, but because they've dragged their feet on everything, because it's not even they drag their feet on everything, they just have nothing, and they know they have nothing, and they know that nothing will come up. But now they want to move back. Discovery was supposed to end in 2 weeks. Do you know who Solo is now? I know everything now, but it doesn't matter until this court case is over. Discovery was supposed to end on December 16th. This is supposed to be the thing that I was like petrified and terrified of because apparently I was hiding so much stuff. But alas, it has been plaintiff who has been engaged in a rampant deletion of and obscuring of and hiding of materials while she continues to send me a whole bunch of irrelevant random stupid shit while she visits her fake wife that she has in fucking Miami that she illegally married to get a green card. I know for a fact that this is exactly what she did Ms. Lauren De Laguna also helped facilitate this. All of this is 100% fucking true. She can sue me if she doesn't like it, because truth is an absolute defense of defamation, and I know how litigious she is, so knock yourself out. Like I said, this is all stuff I'm going to be fucking going on hardcore after this fucking case ends, which is probably one of the reasons why they want to delay it ending. But more specifically, plaintiff requests an extension of the discovery cutoff of 60 days, which would place the new discovery cutoff date on February 17th, 2026. With a proposed new deadline for dispositive motions of March 16th, 2026, and pre-trial motions deadline of April 18th, 2026, with the current trial date of May 18th, 2026 remaining in place, unless the court finds a continuance of the trial date to be appropriate. There is no fucking world where if this got extended to discovery all the way to February, I don't believe that the trial date would remain the same. They're just going to kick it all down the road as much as possible. The active discovery period in this matter did not commence until the protective order governing discoveries issued, blah, blah, blah. This leaves no more than 3.5 months for the parties to conduct discovery under the current schedule order. As of today, and further detailed below, the following discovery has not yet been completed. 1. Written discovery has been exchanged, but there are unresolved objections to defendant's document production. I have produced way more than she has, and I produced everything that's responsive to what she's asking for. The only stuff that they're still asking for is like retarded shit, like we need like license address, or we need cryptographic hashing. Like if you want, I can probably generate a hash on my desktop. It's the most retarded shit you can do. But there's like 7 or 8 outstanding things that there's like 7 or 8 outstanding things that we've requested that we have nothing of. I don't have any of Lucy's conversations with Aaron. I don't have any of her conversations with Lauren. I don't have any of her conversations that are super responsive to any, like all of the people that we've found for subpoenaing are people that we've had to find on our own. She didn't disclose any of them initially, and they tried to throw roadblocks to us subpoenaing or doing depositions for anybody that would would they help our case? Who knows? We haven't closed them yet. The depositions of plaintiff and defendant have not been scheduled despite plaintiff's good faith effort to do so. And so the thing that scares me about this, about trying to move back the date here, is that this argument is decently strong. And generally, like, we're going to fight the motion, but like generally speaking, you have to oppose the parties to the case. So because the judge hasn't ruled on our protective order, and because neither party, so me nor Pixie, have been deposed yet, I feel like the judge will extend the discovery. I guess I'm hoping maybe it'll only be a month instead of 2 months. But like you said, we have that information. So is that allowed? If it is, why don't you do it too? Why don't I do what? There's nothing for me to do. I don't have anything to hide. Like I don't need to do anything like that. I don't need to. And also, technically, all the depositions they've done have just been incredibly helpful to me. Their deposition of Rose, which they thought was going to be this slam dunk fucking crazy thing, ended up biting them in the ass hardcore halfway through that fucking deposition. They realized they were completely totally fucked. So no, I don't have anything to fucking hide on this shit. Like all my shit is released to the public, it's out in the open, and whatever anyway. Like the only people with shit to hide right now are Lauren, who is apparently stalking and harassing me fucking publicly when I visit other states, and then fucking Pixie, who likes to just close her eyes like the retarded dipshit she is and pretend that none of this is even happening, while she, you know, travels around to Miami and hangs out with her fake fucking wife and posts these fucking videos on TikTok or whatever. And then, you know, does her 7 years of law school in Illinois, or however the fucking long it's going to take her to get her 4th degree. The deposition of non-party testimony Göransson has not yet been scheduled. I don't even know what they could possibly hope to talk to her about, but okay. Furthermore, while plaintiff diligently sought and participated in the discovery since the issuance of the protective order, defendant's production of documents has been demonstrably deficient and tardy. Plaintiff engaged in a meet and confer with defense counsel, which resulted in supplemental productions of documents, including the most recent production on November 25th, but plaintiff contends that the production is still deficient and thus anticipates filing a motion to compel. Yeah, we'll see. The last stuff, actually, I should say, the last stuff that they tried to ask for was, I think they were saying, like, we need all your recent conversations with, like, food shops and Zip or whatever. And it's like, excuse me, I'm sorry, you stupid fuck. You don't get to just, like, mine all my random personal conversations because you're fucking bored and you're some loser who has nothing to do with their life but read through my Discord logs. No. Like, eat shit, kick rocks. Like, get the fuck out of here. It's so stupid. The last 3, and they're like 3 or 4 random Discords are like, we need all your recent conversations. Get the fuck out of here. Give me a single conversation that's actually responsive to what we've asked for. And but plaintiff will also require adequate time to investigate her forensic expert's findings of potential spoliation and tampering of evidence by a defendant. Well, how much more time do you fucking need to sit there and read some guy who's tech illiterate, who filed a bullshit SIR reply to retract 2 paragraphs of his quote-unquote expert witness testimony, like the day after he fucking filed it?
A
Give me a
terror's
fucking break.
blessing. Prayers be with you.
Which plaintiff could not have anticipated. In view of the incomplete discovery and the looming discovery cutoff date, plaintiff's counsel proposed the parties file a joint motion to extend the deadlines and suggested dates for the depositions of plaintiff and defendant in Miami during the same week in early January. Oh, so now you can schedule it in the same week? Oh, I thought before that was impossible. But if it's going to be past the December deadline, oh, now all of a sudden you're willing to do it. Good one.
What happened
Good
there?
one.
You stay safe. Stay alive.
Exhibit B, Exhibit B, defendant's refusal to agree to a reasonable modification of certain deadlines smacks of bad faith and gamesmanship and an ulterior motive to prevent the defendant's deposition from taking place. Even the moderate request of a 60-day continuance plaintiff proposed would make it difficult to allow the parties to reasonably conduct a discovery and resolve any discovery disputes, given that it would set an active discovery period extending less than 6 months. It would be highly prejudicial to the plaintiff to be unable to take the deposition of defendant or complete other discovery in this matter. Courts routinely extend the discovery of relevant factual background. The case. Plaintiff diligently conducted and participated in discovery. That's a fucking lie. We have none of the earlier things that I said. Destiny, how does she benefit from pushing the deadline back? Because her case is a loser, and she knew it before she filed the fucking case. So she doesn't want to go to trial, or maybe she does, but whatever she wants to do, the only thing that damages her is however long this goes on. The last thing that Pixie wants is the case to be dismissed, for me to win on the motion of summary judgment, or for me to win at trial. She wouldn't care if I win at trial because that case has gone on for a long time. The only thing she has left is a shit post, whatever stuff the mentally retarded Joan is willing to throw in whatever fucking court filing that ChatGPT is willing to write for her. And that's it. That's all she has. So the longer they can keep it going, the more motion practices she can do. I'm glad that Joan found a new map to grind her motion writing skills in, and has probably leveled up 400 fucking times. Writing more motions than every fucking than every attorney in the state of fucking Florida for the past, I don't know. So when is discovery over? Discovery was supposed to end in a week and a half. They wanted to go on for another 2 months. What happens after discovery ends? Well, after discovery ends, you can file for your motion for summary judgment. So right now we have an outstanding, there's a lot of outstanding stuff. Right now we have an outstanding motion to dismiss, saying the court doesn't even have the subject matter jurisdiction to hear this case, because they don't even have any allegedly bad behavior that you can in the time frame like this for when the law was being written. The chances of winning on that, I think low, but they might be higher than I thought. But after discovery ends, you can file a motion for summary judgment. The motion for summary judgment is where the judge is allowed to look at all the data, not all the data, is allowed to look at all the evidence and like a more determinative thing based on what's actually in the record. The motion for summary judgment is where I plan on winning. The only way, it would be really surprising if I did win on that. But after discovery ends, that motion for summary judgment can be filed, but with discovery still ongoing, there's no way you can file an MSJ. I mean, you could, but it would be retarded because the judge is more likely to refuse it because he's saying, well, you guys haven't even finished discovery.
What a fucking pickaxe.
And I believe you only get one shot at a motion for summary judgment. This is just random excuses that her lawyer's writing for her. We would have sat for these depositions months ago if they hadn't dragged their fucking feet on all the fucking filings and dragged their feet on scheduling anything. Do you have any background info on why this Joan person hates here, fucking guts, or what's her problem? I don't know. Like I said, my guess is a family friend. She's an immigration lawyer from Puerto Rico who is appearing pro agrice for this case. My guess is she's just a family friend. How many people are maliciously participating on the legal side of this? On the legal side, I mean, it's just her lawyers. Lauren De Laguna herself has contacted at least 9 people where she's reaching out to people to make videos on me. She gave Amy Dangerfield, you remember how she randomly made a video about the court case? It was because Lauren was giving her guidance on that. Lauren has spoke to Abba, she spoke to Irrelevant, she emailed Hassan and Ethan to try to hop on their shit. She's reached out to so many different people. It's absolutely fucking unreal how many different people behind this. I don't know how she has the time to do all this shit. It's unbelievable to me. Jesus. Defendant's deposition might also shed additional light on plaintiff's spoliation claims, which might result in additional motion practice. I cannot wait. I hope, Joan, I hope you show up for the fucking deposition. You don't send Carlos to do it, you fucking coward piece of shit. Please, God, show up for this. Because I noticed you skipped the evidentiary hearing. So embarrassing. The spoliation of what? They have nothing on this. It is grasping at the thinnest straws possible to try to claim that I've evidence tampered or whatever. Oh my God, I cannot wait for for the party depositions. District courts have unquestionable authority to control their own docket. Blah, 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 blah. List of prior motions, modified order, blah, blah, blah. Okay, that's 2 days ago. Counsel, the discovery deadline is December 16th, 2 a.m. The court has not yet ruled on defendant's motion for protective order, and dates have not yet been set for deposition by the plaintiff defendant. There are other pending matters as well, including but not limited to the defendant's document production, defendant's defense motion to compel, and the deposition of Melina Urinson. Schedule it. What are you waiting for? You propose filing a joint motion to extend the discovery deadline until December 16th and saying the plaintiff and the defendant's deposition for any 2 days between January 12th and 16th. Well, she's in Miami now, isn't she? Wasn't this stupid fuck here for Thanksgiving? Why couldn't we just do it now? Where is she still here? Hello? What do you want? Let's do it. It's because they want us to go outside of the discovery window so they can make another argument for extending the discovery guidelines. Or not guidelines, they're deadlines. Order this is the order they propose the judge. Let's see. That was 3. What is this one? Nope. Aha. You filed for sanctions against me. I filed for sanctions against you. Finals Rule 11 motion. Oh, wait. This is a response and opposition to motion. Oh, this is their response, and then the next one is Finals Rule 11 motion constitutes a textbook example of a frivolous sanction motion brought for the sole purpose of harassing and intimidating plaintiff into withdrawing meritorious claims and or testing the factual strength or legal sufficiency of plaintiff's claims. So again, and I understand, I don't know if it's where they normally practice law. Maybe Carlos and Jones don't read English and sort of using the translation. Maybe Pixie's bored and she's playwriting a lot of these motions, or maybe Lauren has in between the 200 clients she supposedly has in her Florida law firm that existed as of 2 months ago. Maybe she's doing all the writing, but Rose could have been a 1-year-old and would have no bearing on plaintiff's case. This case has nothing to do with who received the status of the person who received anything. It's nothing to do with any of that. That's not what's at play here. So I don't know why shoving random things in a footnote to try to harass me is testing the factual strength or legal sufficiency of plaintiff's claims. If either of you are, if you guys are listening, because apparently you listen to all my streams, I can email you the statutes. If you need like to walk through the element one by one, there is no age thing listed out in any of these statutes. So I'm not sure where you're getting these things are. I know you like to make up quotes and parts of the laws, but Jesus Christ. Such a tactical Rule 11 motion is itself subject to Rule 11 sanctions under well-settled 11 circuit precedent. The strategic yet frivolous nature of Bonell's motion is substantiated by several factors. First, Bonell declined to raise his objections in his reply to the fraction of the response to the motion to dismiss he now attacks. Second, Bonell's protestations are belied. When did that? Wait, what was the date of that? Have we done the deposition yet? We might not have known. The reply is DB 149 October 10th. Oh, that's another issue too, you guys. So like October 10th. So we had on the 23rd. Hold on. Sorry, fuck. I need to do a paint for this. So we used to make these in math class in first grade. I think these are called like number lines. So 10 is here. Okay, so we go like 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23. Okay. Time goes in one direction. How the fuck are we going to say something here on the 10th? There's some piece of information that we discovered on the 23rd. You see how this number here is way after this number here? You see how that comes way after? Unless you have a DeLorean that can go 88 miles per hour. I don't know what the point of that is, but okay. Bonell's protestations are belied by the evidence adduced to date, and even by the fact that Bonell himself referred to the exchanges described in this video footnote in the identical manner in which plaintiff did. Yeah, but more information. You have more information. There's some fucking moron stuff that you could do with a big fucking owner awesome deposition that ended up exploding in your fucking face. Third, Bonell's objections are patently premature. By way of example, as of the time of Bonell's Rule 11 motion was served, Bonell had yet to sit for deposition, including to testify about the events in question. At most, Bonell might opt to raise the objection to any motion for summary judgment or motion for remind at the appropriate juncture, or he could have moved to strike. Fourth, Rule 11 is not designed to resolve a disputed factual issue raised in a single footnote of a response, which would unnecessarily increase the cost. The factual issue here is not relevant to any of your claims, though. They're not relevant to any of the elements to anything here. Lemony, is that it? Fifth, Bonell's Rule 11 motion is devoid of any legal discussion about the relevance of similar acts by Bonell, coupled with the unsupportable nature of his factual contentions.
Unsupportable.
No more than conclusory and misleading contentions. Quoting the legal standard. Bundle's characterization of the facts misleading. As an initial matter, it should be noted that Bundle does not actually dispute that this person, screen name Rose, here and afterwards with Rose, was a minor when pornographic materials were exchanged prior to her October 2022 birthday. This is like after they noted in the footnote. That's not exactly what you said in the footnote. Okay. Docket entry 183 at 106, and then arguing, rather, that Rose
Will
is
not
immaterial.
take me.
Well, because when you're a lawyer, you make multiple arguments at the same time, right? That's why you have 5 different arguments here and not just one, because you always make every argument you can, right? Indeed, Bono was apparently concerned enough about Rose having been a minor at the time that he raised the issue at his deposition. In fact, Bono fails to disclose in his book of motion. Exhibit A, the declaration of blah blah blah. Bono himself generally refers to exchanges of materials between Bono and Rose in the same manner plaintiff did in the footnote, and tellingly raised no such objection to the footnote therein. Yeah, because we didn't have the information at the time. It is patently clear that Vinyl's argument boils down to an objection to the relevance of Rose's age at the time, and bases this objection on representations of this court which are, however, anything but undisputed. Specifically, Vinyl posits that the fact that Rose was a minor is irrelevant because 1. Rose's then boyfriend Solo was catfishing Vinyl. 2. Rose was not directly operating the social media account to the pornographic material in any of these accounts by the way. 3. Rose cannot see any of this materials. B183 at 1. Despite the fact that it is patently improper to force plaintiffs to litigate these highly disputed factual issues at this stage of the case, for the reasons set forth in Section 2 and 3, and for the addressing of why Finals continues to comment. Then why are you putting them in footnotes? Then why would you put something like this in a fucking footnote? Vinyl admits, for example, that Rose also testified that Solo shared with her materials Vinyl sent to Rose over the imposter account. C. Exhibit A. Rose admitted that she was shown a handful of videos of Destiny sent via the imposter account. Rose also testified that Solo shared with her the Discord messages exchanged with Vinyl. I'm not sending these, though. I'm not the one sending these. Your stupid fucking ass didn't name Solo as a party to the case. You're not suing him, you're suing me. I'm not the one sending these things to that other person. And that she knew that the explicit images and videos that she took of herself would be provided to Vinyl. Rose further testified that she does not know the plaintiff. This is important because if Rose does not know the plaintiff, she could not know one way or another whether one of the handful of videos that Destiny sent tipped the plaintiff. Because stuff has come out afterward. Because stuff is not live. I'm not getting one guide. Based on these facts, the question whether Rose ever saw these materials is anything but undisputed. Even if she was so pixie sent porn to a child? Is that what we're saying now? Is this the transitive property of bad legal arguments? Damn, that's crazy. It's disgusting. I can't believe she did that. Holy fuck. Gross. Rule 11 sanctions against Vinyl are warranted for giving deliberate difference to obvious facts. Furthermore, Rose's testimony also reveals that because A, she was aware of Vinyl being catfished through the imposter account, and that sexually explicit material of her was shared with Vinyl. B, Vinyl was making requests for explicit material, and that C, materials were being shared in this manner, and then, at times, shown to her. She was at least indirectly communicating with Vinyl. Base argument. True. This person, by the way, who told me that they were 18 or 19 years old, this person who I know no claims whatsoever about this person being a minor ever, number one. Number two, I'm not even talking to this fucking person. I'm talking to a person operating the account catfishing.
You're here for the
okay, but
yeah.
Reaching me was impressive, but it's mine.
What my good friend Carlos was doing.
away.
So thank you, Your Honor. Thus, the footnote stating that Bono was exchanging material with a minor is not incorrect. So I guess that's what do that. The fact that Solo acted as a go-between. A go-between? The guy was trafficking her? Is a go-between. That's a babe. Does not alter the certain. Well, I mean, it kind of fucking does, but okay. The fact remains that Vinyl requested explicit material of a minor, and the minor provided it for him. He received it, and
The epoch is ours.
no indication that this person was underage at the time. I've not requested anything directly from this person. Just try to go through if they offered this all, or if I was requesting. I didn't even know if I was requesting. This person was forthcoming with a whole bunch of shit. But this person apparently was her creepy, weirdo, fucking adult boyfriend from the UK who was running the fucking account. But okay. And while Rose repeatedly testified that she did not message with Vinyl, she also testified that she did not recall whether she ever spoke to him via other means. I honestly don't remember if I ever called Vinyl. More rebuttal produced in this case is communication with an individual with a screen hit, great rate, including messages on November 29th, in which it states that he had decent links to both the road and talk about both personal things, never had a problem with you, fight over anything else. I thought I had at the time. It's possible that there was another person I was trying to get on the phone instead. I know that this Rose person offered to call me, or we talked about calling. Although at this point, apparently Solo literally could have just had her call me. Who would have talked that way? But none of this is material to any of this stuff. I think after I said this, when Pixie filed her court case, I'm pretty sure I went back and I checked the logs that I had. By the way, that Pixie has as well, because unlike her, I actually produced my fucking discovery information. There are no calls in our Discord history, and I have no calls in my phone logs about calling any fucking phone numbers or fucking Ellen or anything else, so... do you think it was a woman or someone using a voice changer? No, if I would have called her, it would have been at around the time when all the crazy Lauren shit was happening. But there was another person I was talking to, so my guess is I was just talking to this person. But I was texting
I apologize.
Solo person, I guess.
You might become part of something greater.
I don't even know what the story. Why would I lie? Why would I lie about this? Unless the. Oh well, I guess the gist of the Discord theory is that I contacted Rose ahead of time, and then me and her set up a whole devious plot to fuck with Pixie, I guess. But as such, Bono's claim that he never communicated with Rose, including when she was a minor, is misleading and belied by the record. How unbelievably inappropriate in a back and forth in a civil suit that has nothing to do with fucking child porn or anything, to try to be litigating this in these bullshit ass replies and these bullshit ass Rule 11 sanctions. Like, Jesus fucking Christ. Like, these are big claims. Like, if you want to have like a formal actual case relating to this fucking shit, well then let's fucking do that. But the fact that I have to litigate whether or not I'm a fucking pedophile in replies to court motions on a totally unrelated matter? Like, Jesus. The evidence shows that Rose was also victimized by Bono.
Go back. Now, not Lena.
The Kiwi fight
so
was
sorry
copy
to
pasted
hear
all of it. And that despite suspecting that Rose was a minor, I never suspected Rose was a minor, ever. Why the fuck would I post
With the
anything
Epoc's
about this
power.
person? They know this.
I'll finally be able to.
Despite suspecting that Rose was a minor, he tried to send a group of guys to find her because he wanted to talk to her. Yeah, because my impression at the time was either she was directly involved in leaking all my shit, or whoever was running the account was leaking all my shit, and I wanted to know who the fuck it was. I think I had that right, and since your fucking client is too fucking retarded to actually file a court case because the person who leaked everything, apparently I'm the only one that can find any of this shit. So yeah, I was trying to find out who the fuck the person was. Well, it is understandable that Bunnell seeks to have these disturbing facts stricken from the record because Rule 11 motion represents a transparent attempt to intimidate plaintiff into withdrawing her meritorious allegations. What allegations are you fucking making? Such bad faith tactics weren't sanctioned against Bunnell and his counsel, going after Andy B. Wait, what? I knew a Rose from a Discord server. They said they were taking a break around like July of 2023. Would be crazy if it's the same person. Wait, who? I'm so curious. Post the name of the Discord account in YouTube chat, because I guess fuck it, if we're just throwing shit from the whatever in here. So I knew that whatever the actual story was, there was going to be some hardcore facts. So in my mind, the reason why there's no possible way this could have been a catfish, the strongest piece of evidence that I had personally, if it was a catfish, why is it that when I messaged one, why would they sit on the material for so long, and then two, when I messaged the person, why wouldn't they just try to get more material out of it? Like, I'd never had a fight with this. We were on super good terms. Like, why would they not just keep saying, like, oh, hey, like, send me more videos or let's gossip more or whatever else? But I found out why, and the reason why is because the, the reason why is because this, whoever this Rose person was, broke away from the Solo guy in, I believe it was August of 2023. And so, now I understand why, because that was around, I think, even when they told me that they broke up with their boyfriend, but it was Solo talking about himself on her account, and then that's why they didn't send me anything else or try to do more back and forth, because they didn't have access to the original person anymore. So that, I understand now why that, why our communication stopped and why they didn't try to fuck stuff out. It makes sense. But you and YouTube said this, if you knew a Rose that said in 2023 in July, when I think it was August, that's really crazy if that's the case. If that's the same person, that's really crazy. I don't have receipts, I never DM them. They were just asking general. Okay, huh. It might have been the same person. Could that be the real Rose? I would have to know the Discord account because apparently there was. Well, I don't know. She went back. I don't know if she did someone like that. I'm not sure, but that could have been Solo on that account. Queen and viewer, by the way. Antistical fan, by the way. For who this old guy is, but Rule 11 prohibits conversion of factual disputes into a sanctions. Do they even dispute that Solo Guy was the one that posted the material online? How's that even relevant? They don't want to go anywhere near that because if they were to get over the threshold issues, and even if they were to establish a subject matter jurisdiction, even if they were to demonstrate that I transmitted this video after the effective date, and even if they were to get this all the way to trial, even if a jury were to find me liable or guilty of it, they would still have to get into an argument over what kind of damages we would be awarded, because the proximate cause, the foreseeability of my actions, like how much would it have led to anything, the main guy that would be liable for stuff would be the Solo person. This is why Pixie got shot down by the first two real attorneys that tried to take her case, because they knew that like your damages aren't going to be on this guy who might have sent a video to one person. It's going to get posted fucking online. That's what all of your damages are. But the reason why they don't bring up him or him posting anything is because they probably want to try to section that off as much as possible to get me as liable for as much. For this, they would have to clear so many fucking hurdles to get to that place. But the person said that their Discord name was Rose Emoji Rose. Well, that's the display name, but that won't be the actual display name. But okay, that might have been them. Maybe. I'd have to go check. Interesting. Small world. Small online world. Funnel's Rule 11 tactic in the case at bar is particularly telling for several reasons. A, again, Final did not even raise his objection in his B, this case is still in the pleading stage. The pleading stage. We haven't even started discovery yet, by the way. It's not even started yet. Does this discovery stage count as the pleading stage? Where's Cass at? And C, the issue is at most an objection may raise any motion in what is it? Lemon?
Yes.
Lemony? At the appropriate juncture. Indeed, as of this date, Bonell served his Rule 11 motion. Bonell himself has yet to sit for deposition, which further highlights the calculated and insane nature of his position Rule 11 motion. Bonell's Rule 11 motion is sent harassment of the pressure and abandoning relevant claims. They're not relevant. By voluntarily striking them from her opposition, thereby demanding that she waive her right to raise these issues. You don't have standing for these issues. What the fuck are you talking about? Right to raise these issues on whose behalf? What are you talking about? As noted, a careful review of his Rule 11 arguments reveals that Bonell does not see the rules of minor when photograph reveals were extremely true. There were probably hundreds of millions of minors on the planet. Do you think that Bradler is polished up enough on his time cube to compete with Joan D? Because when they reply to you, pointing out the 23rd is after the 10th by noting that midday is just the shadow of midnight. I don't know if Andy will be prepared. True. Jiminy. Oh, Lemony. Rhymes with Jiminy. Lemony. Like that. While Bonell was expected to argue that Rose's testimony was induced after the briefing on the motion to dismiss was completed. Oh, good job! Oh, they do know time. This does not render his conduct bringing his Rule 11 motion any less egregious. Bonell's objection is that these allegations against him are false, which he could have, but declined to, impressed by submitting a declaration. But why would I have to submit a declaration? We did a deposition. Why do we need a declaration? From me, we already have the deposition of the person. For the underlying timelines or timeliness issue also further underscores that Rule 11 is not designed to threaten sanctions every time some evidence is adduced during discovery that one party can attempt to frame a certain way. If that were permitted, litigants would bring hundreds of Rule 11 motions on a rolling basis. Yeah, maybe you would. Maybe don't stick random fucking shit in footnotes with the goal of defaming or harassing me as part of a lawsuit. Also, by the way, because I'm learning cool, I guess, civil procedure stuff, ordinarily, this is the loser way to do stuff, okay? So let's say I have a potential, person who might have information about a court case, okay? Person of interest. We'll just call him this, okay? Now, it's stupid, okay? If you learn this in law school or whatever, you're retarded, okay? So what you might think is like, oh, well, I am the plaintiff. I'm going to go ahead and shoot a subpoena to them and request that they sit for a deposition, okay? During a deposition allows the plaintiff to ask them questions, and it allows the defendant to ask them questions. And then we get a nice transcript. We both get to ask our questions. As part of the subpoena, I think we can ask other documents as well, right? Wow, okay? This is a loser approach. Instead, we have the upgraded model.
Oh.
The Joan Peters approach. Okay. Now, let's say that we're the plaintiff and we have a person of interest. Deposition? Don't do a deposition. That's lame. Instead, what we're going to do is we're going to get an affidavit. Okay? Affidavit / declaration. Because why have them sit for a deposition where they can get cross-examined? Well, it shouldn't be cross-examined. It's not technically their right. Why have them sit for a deposition? We just get like a piece of paper that they sign, and then after that, then they're gone. Now, the defense doesn't have the ability to ask those questions. okay? They are not responsive to any subpoenas. They avoid any request for deposition. Plaintiff doesn't even make a request. Plaintiff isn't even deposing their star witness. Right? But why would you do that? You don't need to depose them. You already have a statement on the record in the form of an affidavit. Why would anybody ever do a deposition? Why would you ever do that? Why would you depose somebody? Well, you could just get an affidavit. This is base. I think everybody should do this. So that's a Kino strategy. Second Kino strategy I picked up, okay? Second Kino strategy I picked up. Is somebody deposing somebody that might have bad information against you? Well, let me tell you the Kino strategy. Let's say that there's a person of interest you think it might be bad for you. You know they have information about you. You don't disclose them during your initial disclosure. Initial disclosures, by the way, don't ever disclose anything to your hurtful sources because that would be bad for your case, right? So let's say the defense somehow manages to find this person. And they shoot a subpoena to the person saying, hey, we want to depose you. And obviously, you need to fire a subpoena. You have to make this available to the opposing counsel. Well, when you see that subpoena go out, your best bet is, instead of saying, hey, we'll go with you to the deposition so we can both ask questions. Loser! That would be the loser way. Don't do that. Instead, do the go-around, have a conversation with this person, represent this person, and then block the subpoena!
Trap is ready!
Exploded! Oh!
Right now!
I can't believe I never thought of this strategy. It's a great strategy. That way, nobody ever has to suffer any depositions ever. Just represent every single person, apparently. Just represent every single person that OC is trying to depose. And now you can always fight every subpoena and they never do anything. It's just ingenious. I wish I... This is stuff they don't teach. This is stuff they don't teach in law school. Can you reveal who they did this to? I don't know what's public on this code or not. It's at least 3 people so far. Which is based. Honestly,
Gods be
it's
with
based.
you.
I like... I
Stay
would have never thought of this. That's crazy shit.
Death will not take me.
However, C-section for a preliminary discussion as to relevance. Nevertheless, at the motion to dismiss stage, it is well within the court's ability to determine which arguments are relevant and to ignore any argument it deems irrelevant. In any case, Lionel did not argue that the footnote is not relevant in his reply. Did we not put that in the reply? Brettler, in his reply to Carlos, said that they represent 4 people on interest. Wait, is that true? Wait, Armageddon. Oh my god. Wait, link me that reply. I didn't see it. That would just be fun, so I can read it on a stream, so I know for sure it's all public. This is from November 5th, 2025. The court issued a show cause order to plaintiff. We are not amenable to rescheduling deposition time. Wait, was this in here? Did you link the right thing? Oh, from Andrew Bradley. Any delay in the prosecution of this case has been of plaintiff and her counsel's own doing. Indeed, plaintiff failed to show up for her own deposition. Plaintiff's counsel, who also represent 4 of the witnesses to whom Mr. Mental issued subpoenas of this action, have actively obstructed. You can't. I'm sorry. I hope you guys realize I'm being sarcastic. You can't do this. This is retarded. If somebody subpoenas somebody for a case, you can't run around to that person and go, hey, by the way, looking for some, representation. 1, it's a massive fucking conflict of interest, and 2, it's obvious fucking collusion. You're not supposed to collude with witnesses. Now, I don't know if I can prove that, or they're colluding to doctor their testimony or whatever, but you can't run around and collect people like fucking Monopoly pieces or whatever. You can't run around and just collect new people to represent every time I issue a fucking subpoena against them. What is the capacity for this law firm for my case? Is this like a whole ass fuck? Do they have like 30 different associates who are all working on this in Puerto Rico? What the fuck? Okay. Sorry. It's a joke. It's okay. You get Joan or Carlos disbarred for this. No! Hopefully they get in trouble, but sports are goofy things and people are goofy people. So, what are you gonna do? When's the next scheduled hearing? Whenever God the judge rules on our things, we'll figure it out. First, there's no dispute that Bonall's conduct surrounding Rose is squarely alleged in the complaint and is highly relevant to this allegation. Except not even, because we've lost the whole date aspect related to anything having to do with this person at all anyway. So it actually super doesn't matter. But you know who you might have had a really good argument against? Imagine if that solo guy had sent those videos to her after the party cutoff date. Oh, that might have been a really good person to name in the fucking case. Maybe that would have been a really good person to go after. Maybe. Additionally, under the statute, plaintiff invokes, in the case of bar, prior instances of sexual cyber harassment are plainly relevant. A person who has one prior conviction for sexual cyber harassment, who commits a second or subsequent sexual cyber harassment is a felony of the 3rd degree. Wait, what the fuck? Under the statute, plaintiff invokes, in the case at bar, prior instances of sexual cyber harassment are plainly... Excuse me, you're talking about upgrading charges for a crime, number 1. And that's for prior convictions, not allegations. Number 2, This is a civil case. Number 3, you didn't even put a single thing in the record to show that I was being malicious. Number 4, you lost all of the arguments having to do with malicious intent because Pixie would have qualified for all of them because she sent me, without his consent by the way, videos of her own fucking boyfriend at the time. Number 5, they lost on that evidentiary hearing in court. Well, they didn't. I shouldn't say they lost on that, but the judge literally argued against one that they had no counter retort to that. Why would you even bring this up? It's okay. I'm just cross.
Poor bastard.
Cross. For Rule 11 sanctions. Rule 11, no you. Stop. You rule. This is 185. Oh. Also, when you redact and file for the skills is never sent to the opposing counsel. Other skills is the deposition of Rose and the 8th redacted version. Oh, is it referring to that? I still don't have the unredacted thing of Abby's. That's okay. Who needed it? And then this is them requesting sanctions for our sanctions. Does it make you feel like the system is more ripe for abuse than you originally thought? I mean, I guess a little bit. I don't know much about like court stuff. But again, the issue here is one of the issue here is one of like when you're like a. It sounds so. Unfair. The reason why celebrity people only mess with other celebrity people is because everybody has something to lose. I mean, you hear this a lot, like anime or fucking fighting things. Like, don't fight with an opponent with nothing to lose. He's the most dangerous opponent. The reason why is they have nothing to lose. They don't give a fuck about what happened. Everything in life is theoretically going to in some way. If a person wants to ruin somebody else, then the wealthier person has the advantage. But if a person wants to ruin somebody and they're self-destructive, then, well, no, actually, the wealthier person is self-destructive. I'm just not self-destructive, I guess. But if one side is self-destructive and the other side's not, the side that has less can theoretically have way more leverage because they have nothing to lose, I guess, literally. They don't care. They have no reputation. They have no stake in anything like that. But I just can't believe I was self-destructive. I could do more. Wouldn't the judge see all these tactics and put a stop to them? If the judge hasn't called them out,
What
would
brings
they
you
possibly have merit? In my opinion, and I would be shocked if you disagree, every substantive ruling the judge has made on this case has been heavily in my favor, I would say. I think they've been tried at a number of times for improper behavior, for sending us motions to agree to and then filing different ones with the fucking court, or for playing weird or stupid games with phrases or whatever. So far, I feel like the judges. Why shouldn't the judges done a good job of this rule? And I feel like I feel like this writing can be a bit good. So this reads like an obviously malicious suit. Is there no barrier for that? Okay, as the victim of a malicious suit, you can ask me these questions, because I would just type fuck off. Okay, the reality is, litigants in court make mistakes all the time, and the thing that the courts will always err on the side of caution about is to not create a chilling effect on a victim seeking recompense or seeking justice or remedy from the court, right? So imagine if it was the case where you fucked with filing, or if you did something that maybe was kind of against the rules, the judge comes down to be harsh as opposed to sanctions and saying shit against you. What that would cause in the civil court system is people saying, well, fuck, I think I have a good claim here, but like, I don't want to get sanctioned if they're like tested filing episode, right? So courts are generally going to err heavily on the side of caution in civil and criminal matters. I think generally when it comes to making sure that people are not chilled from pursuing legal action if they feel like they have a meritorious case or claim or whatever. That being said, you can push the line, and I guess we'll find out now because we've got now 2 outstanding sanctions for the other side to see where the judge falls on this. But you have to be really, really, really far in the weeds on that. So is Wicked Supreme implying Rose lied under oath? Yes. Funnily enough, Rose and Pixie did the same. But that's all of Jiskeel's Discord server now. Because remember, so that Save a Sexual guy in Jiskeel's Discord server is openly bragging about, in that server, posting emails. This guy created several email accounts that was harassing Rose, was harassing her family, threatening them, telling them, like, I hope
Your death has come.
I see that you haven't yet. I hope that you would have done the right thing, and I see you failed to do that. It's very disappointing. After they were getting doxxed and harassed, by the way, by all of Kiwi Farms, by everybody that watched the stupid fucking Willie Mac videos, and everybody else in Jiskeel's Discord server, right? And Wicked Supreme is all part of the server where they all laugh about this shit. But now the claim is that I was collaborating with Rose secretly in order to make a whole bunch of lies and shit up and everything. By the way, the only person who collaborated with or tried to do anything with Rose was Joan and Pixie. I had zero access to this person. I have messaged this person one time in my life, and it was when I found their Facebook account, and then I messaged them, and they blocked
Keep them off me.
whoever the actual rogue person is. But Joan and I guess however many weirdos in Discord server were spamming emails at him, were going back and forth in emails with him for who knows how long. So if anything, this was their witness that they had massaged into a certain thing. Who's, by the way, insanely fucking fucked over all of this, whose life has been destroyed like 2 or 3 times now. But
Only
you know,
a little longer.
it's all based in Epic. Yeah, really enjoy Epic memes. Like, God, he's so stupid. I understand. God, please don't ever. You guys have heard me debate enough now. People being lawyers means fucking nothing. I just can't believe these people. Wonder why, if Destiny knows who Solo is, why hasn't there been a Solo deposition? Because Solo's not related to the fucking case. Pipsy is the plaintiff suing me, the defendant. Why the fuck would I bring in any other person that he's not related to this case? What possible relevance would Solo have to any of this in regards to this case, you fucking retard? It's not a blog where you just write random shit. Have you litigated or filed anything your entire fucking
I'll be
life?
right
Or do you just sit in some fucking office as some loser associate attorney in some fucking public defender office preparing bullshit all day? What do you even fucking do? Do you even work in law? I don't even know what you do for work. Esports dipshit. Why hasn't he given that info to Pixie's counsel for her to depose Solo so she can get owned the way she's supposed to do with the Rose of Vision? What? What are you why? What the fuck would the point be? It's not. You think this is just like fun to just sit here and waste all my fucking time and everything so they can go and run around and do all these random fuck depositions and everything else? Also, you know that if they depose somebody, I have to pay for my lawyers to go out there to depose them as well, right? I'm not gonna give them a solo deposition. Pun intended. Which one is sexual? Is this Tiny Dogs person? They post. You can tell it's them because they post. Or it's this one. They post this Facebook one, but this is the one that created multiple accounts that was harassing Rose and her family until they responded. Because they thought that she was
please, the gods have long left this world, but their memory will give you comfort.
Read the last comment. Because Destiny sits in an echo chamber against anyone who doesn't agree with him, obviously. Based. True. Yes, I'm implying she lied under oath. She has a really strong incentive to. These people are sociopaths. Jesus. Either she's lying under oath or he's lying about having phone conversations. You'd have to be 5 years old to do the voice tricks thing. I've never claimed voice tricks thing. If I didn't talk to her, then I just recollected incorrectly that we'd had a phone conversation. We texted a ton. But I like how I can never be wrong about anything. By the way, almost every single point of Pixie's initial complaint and of her Substack has been proven false. A fucking lie. She couldn't even get her fucking ages right. Nothing that I've said so far on this has been proven to be a lie at all. Despite the fact that Discovery would supposedly own me, and all this stuff would come out that would be so horrible for me in Discovery, that was the meme initially, and now she's the one who's deleted and hidden everything, because she knows she's going to be fucking roasted if any of the stupid shit that she's done comes to light. But, okay. What happened to Wicked? I feel like he's been hating her guts, since Get Go at some point. I don't know. At some point, he was being like a massive fucking creepy weirdo to Pixie, and Pixie was asking me for advice on like how to chat with him back and forth. And the way that he spoke was just like insanely fucking weird. I think I posted the messages in chat before, but it was basically Pixie got into some disagreement with him, and he was basically saying something along the lines of like, I think they were gonna date, but he is some fucking poly guy. He was like, oh, I want to fuck everybody, and she was like, oh, well, I can't handle that. And so she was like, I think that we shouldn't talk because I still have feelings for you. But he would just message her constantly, like, oh, hey, good luck today, hey, blah blah. And every time he messaged, she'd be like, hey, thanks, but like, please don't message me. He'd be like, oh, well, good luck anyway. And then he would start like arguing with her, and I remember he said one message that tripped me off where I told Pixie, I was like, I would be very careful about people who say shit like this. And it was something along the lines of like, she was like, she was arguing, she was like, I don't think when you message me or whatever, it doesn't make me feel good, or like, I don't think we should talk until I'm completely over you or whatever. And he was like, I think the only reason you're saying this is because you just don't want to be like your mom, because you're worried that you're going to be abusive like your mom was to you or something. Anytime, heads up, I guess, if you're a guy or a girl, if you're in a dispute with somebody, especially like a new partner or potential partner, and they start psychoanalyzing you and comparing you to your parent in order to fight against some boundary you're putting up, that is like one of the biggest fucking red flags ever. But my guess is after, I don't know if Pixie, how much she even communicated to Wicked that I told her about him or whatever. So
It
I don't even
eludes
fucking know.
me.
Maybe that's it. Who knows? Who the fuck knows?
the counterexample always is, I mean, there's plenty of right-wing forces in the country that also want to ban homosexuality, and or trans people in general, right?
No one wants to ban trans people in Britain. No.
Okay, well, that's not what I have seen so far, but maybe I'm wrong on this.
What do you mean?
But I mean, there's a lot of I think our bosses, our capital owners in America, are like, why would I get an American worker who is in comparison to an Indian worker that's coming into the country that is desperate to keep this job? Why would I hire the American worker? I can pay the same fee to the Indian worker, or even a higher fee, as a matter of fact, to the Indian worker, because I know that he is going to work harder than the American labor force. So there is this competition.
God, he's so retarded. What you just said, like, justifies their hiring, right? You know, like, I could pay somebody this, or I could pay this guy this, who will work harder for the same wage or whatever. Well, shouldn't they hire that person then? Is that not?
My girlfriend at the time was like a model, trying to become an actress. She was like, one of us has to actually work. And she was like, you should keep doing advertising stuff to make money so that I could be, you know, a model and actress, whatever. And I was like, okay. And
oh my God. Graduated college, no job prospects, was working hard to put him and his girlfriend through their careers while she, wow, this is just what a selfless individual. My God. Hassan took my advice and he's branching out. He's doing adversarial interviews. Will this be adversarial, or will they just agree on all the popular stuff? Hassan Pike, welcome to Trigonometry.
Nice to be here, guys.
Why the big sign?
Italy's Mussolini and Adolf Hitler's Nazi Germany were ruthless fascist forms of governance. My fear is that that is where capitalism leads. There's too much instability, there's too much chaos. We need to restore order.
Is there a country that's done socialism the way that you like?
I would say China is probably the closest, I would say, to an example that we should follow.
You like communism in America?
I think that communism would be most likely an international thing. It'd be like the Star Trek universe.
You think the Reform Party is
I think the Reform
fascist?
Party, as it stands currently, is a nascent fascist parliamentary group that hasn't reached its full potential.
Hassan Pike, welcome to Trigonometry.
Nice to be here, guys.
Why the big sign?
We'll see. We'll see how this goes.
Yeah.
I'm getting cooked right now.
Yeah.
For those of you at home watching, and this has got to be extra weird for you guys because you're British, and this is what the sun looks like normally.
Yeah. No, it's nice to know. We're enjoying it. I'm sorry about the sun. This is not deliberate. We're not trying to literally. But welcome to the show. Tell us a little bit about you. Like, you obviously got a massive Twitch channel. You're very successful streaming. Twitch is a gaming platform, but you talk on there, and that's what people follow you for. How did you get there? What's been your journey through life?
I started my professional media career, I guess, as a nepotism recipient at my uncle's 26-person YouTube startup media network. I feel like calling it a media network is interesting because, like, at that time, at that point, it was smaller than like a mid-tier podcast.
26 people is a mid-tier podcast? Does Joe Rogan have 26 employees? Also, wasn't the Young Turks the largest left-leaning YouTube channel, like, of all the left, like, back in, like, 2010? Does anybody know the timeline on that? I could be wrong on that.
I started there because I just wanted to not live in New Jersey. I wanted to live in LA. And that's where the Young Turks headquarters were. And that's like virtually all of my years, came out of college with double major, great marks, and no job whatsoever. So I was like, all right, I'll just start off my journey here.
Whose mom does commercial real estate, whose dad was a C-level exec, right? Or a very high exec on his company, whose parents traveled the world, had job prospects. Okay. Survive the background. Okay, you can survive. You can make it through this. Oh God.
And it will allow me to not be it'll allow me to be friendly, right? And slowly but surely, I worked my way through the ranks there, offering a lot of free work. As a fill-in producer or fill-in guest host whenever someone didn't show up, sick or something, while I was actually doing the advertisement stuff on the back end. I was basically the singular advertising operations person. Not only was I creating client lists, but the cold calls, trying to get DR campaigns going for the Young Turks and like fill the inventory of the Young Turks with some brand names that I think everyone is now familiar with. Like Swift, a big client of mine initially, but I hated it. And I thought, I think I could do better if I were on camera position. But the problem was I was horrible on camera at first, and I just kept going through it. My girlfriend at the time was like a model, trying to become an actress. She was like, one of us has to actually work. And she was like, you should keep doing advertising stuff to make money so that I can be, a model and actress, whatever. And I was like, okay. And even a bunch of my friends were like, maybe you should stop doing this camera stuff. You're not very good at it. And I was like, no, I'm going to keep going. I'm going to keep doing it because eventually I'll get better at it. And I guess over the years I did get somewhat better at it. But while I was at the Young Turks, it was good.
Oh my God. Graduated college, no job prospects, was working hard to put him and his girlfriend through their careers while she, wow, this is just what a selfless individual. My God.
Doing all this stuff, I set up a show on Breakdown. It was very successful because it aligned perfectly with the Facebook algorithm turning on the faucet for video content. Just when everyone to pivot to video, BuzzFeed, and all these other places. There's a company called Upworthy. I don't know if you guys recall. Way back in the day, they were getting like tens of millions of views a week, and my videos were getting like 30 million views a week. I was contesting Tommy Lauren's right-wing commentary at the time, and that was when I first made a name for myself, I guess, as a leftist political commentator. But I wanted something more. I wanted something that I could call my own. I wanted a sense of community for myself. I didn't want to be under the umbrella of the Young Turks as much as I was. So I thought to myself, I play video games when I'm not working. Might as well go to this platform called Twitch. It was a video game platform at the time, even though there was some commentary happening there as well. And I decided I'm just going to strap on a PlayStation camera on my PlayStation 4 at the time and start live broadcasting and while I play Fortnite. And I have a bunch of other friends who are journalists, activists, organizers, and whatnot that I play Fortnite with anyway. So we'll just talk about political issues while I do this. There was a couple of reasons why I did that. Like I said, one, because I wanted to have something of my own, a media property of my own. The other reason was because I recognized that the gaming side of things, like the gaming culture side of that space, was heavily dominated by right-wing commentary, whereas gamers were much more diverse in their opinion, myself included. And I wanted to present an alternative. I also wanted to go against the grain, because at the time, this was 2016, 2017, at the peak of like most SJW, cartoonish depictions of what the left represented. And there was some validity to the arguments that were being presented. Obviously, it was like the most maximalist, most ridiculous depiction of the left, but some people would lean into that a little bit, where they were like, no, we are like this, we are joy killers, we are woke skulls. And I was like, I don't think you have to do that. I think you can have fun and also still have progressive values. And I wanted to basically show that to a audience that had maybe never really encountered it. And I wanted to be in an environment that I was comfortable in as a male who games, and that was a very male-focused gamer space, which was. And last but not least, I wanted to get better off the cuff, because up until that moment, I had always scripted my content. I was writing it, and I would actually take the writing on my videos and turn it into a Huffington Post article. So I would just like reformat my script into an actual article, and that was fine, but I wasn't very good off the cuff. So
yeah, so I could have been called StarCraft.
Oh, I thought to myself, if I can play video game and talk about politics at the same time and be able to entertain people, maybe 30 at a time, maybe 300 at a time if I'm lucky.
That'd be great, yeah. All its editing at the same time, you recognize the whole community is actually right there. Wow, combined thing. Wow, that's, yeah, true.
Then I can get a lot better at public speaking.
It turns out,
as you guys
I often
figured out by now,
shelter.
I never shut up.
The tunnels will keep us.
And you mentioned progressive values and that being something that's important to you. What are progressive values?
I think progressive values, for me at least, are founded around empathy first and foremost, to try to uplift everyone's material conditions to the best of our ability, and focusing on protecting those who need protection, and simultaneously advancing the cause of the way I think about it, advancing the cause of unlocking the potential of every single person, no matter where they are. Because right now, there are probably billions of brilliant people that never actually get the opportunity to unlock their true potential because of where they're born. Like, am I born in Sudan, in a village that is being overtaken by the RSF? They might be born in India, to an impoverished neighborhood, and are not going to have the access to education, and therefore be able to truly revolutionize whatever sector they might be interested in revolutionizing. And I think that's what I want to do.
What do you think is the way, because I think that's probably something the left and right actually agree on in my experience, you know, the centre left, the centre right, they're kind of moderate. But I suppose the disagreement probably is about what you think is the way by which that happens. So the right will say, well, the answer to that is capitalism, right? I imagine you don't agree. So how do you think?
Sorry, I was having a call with you. Are these guys going to find a way to, like, they're going to agree the whole time, like, as they go from their weird kind of like populist spend, and they're just going to spend the majority of their time shitting on maybe the center right or the right and the center left, and they're going to agree on everything?
Capitalist, right? I imagine you don't agree. So how do you think those things get those people who don't currently have opportunity both in this country and other Western countries but around the world? What's the mechanism by which they get those opportunities?
I think creating a robust base of support, like a minimum social safety net for all, is the way. And there are many different ways of achieving that result. I don't think capitalism has been able to do that. What I mean by that is capitalism still revolves around the inherent contradiction of at its most reductive way, to put it, someone's got to clean the toilet. And in an effort to make sure that there is always going to be people that are wage laborers, there is this dynamic where we can't advance humanity too much. This plays itself out on the international scale in unequal exchange, where if we were to allow a lot of the third world to develop to a certain degree, then things would be far too costly. We wouldn't get the cheap materials and the cheap natural resources.
Isn't the third world developing much quicker than the first world actually did, right? Like the cell phone proliferation across Africa, like clean water utilities are expanding faster, like child mortality and all that is decreasing faster. Like
strat so that we can have an iPhone for the reasonable price of $500 of EMS increasing now. I personally think that if we were to do that, by stopping endless and needless cruel militarism in the global south and allow these places to develop, extend an open hand to them, that we would allow society to flourish in ways that we previously could not.
I guess your point about cleaning toilets is interesting because it's something we've addressed a lot in this trip with guests right, left, centre, etc. is the incredible wealth inequality and the speed at which the gap is not that strong. It's a big problem. People on the right don't want to admit it. It's true. But
He was trying to find the capital labor contradiction and just took out the script and said clean the toilets. Yeah. What is the natural contradiction in capital labor? When you say contradiction, are you implying that is it about the wage exploitation of the owner engaging with the worker? Is that's the antagonism, right? Yeah. I'm sure you could phrase that in some Marxist friendly way. I feel like the incorporation of that into modern society, the contradiction or the issue is just that capital would grow so much faster that a toilet cleaner will only ever really be able to clean so many toilets at a particular time, and so his lifetime earnings are always going to be capped. Whereas the guy who owns the company that employs toilet cleaners can employ 50 million toilet cleaners and enjoy the profits of all those people, but also they're generous. But whatever. I don't know. Also toilet cleaners, I guess, whatever sounds like.
on the other hand, someone is always going to have to clean the toilet, right? Like, we have a pretty big safety net in the UK. And what that's mainly done is trapped a lot of people in a place where they don't have to work, and they therefore don't. And also, you talk about, importing people from other countries to work for less. Kind of the consequence of that is it suppresses wages for other people in the country as well. So, who would clean the toilets if we...
So, great question. Let me address the wage depression aspect of this, because this is the one area
that we agree on, because wage depression is caused by capital owners.
Where sometimes I hear Tucker Carlson talk about it, and there's like some nuggets of truth in there. Because yes, importing labor into the country will always depress wages in the absence of good regulation. And good regulation in that format would be demanding wage parity, and also not creating any other external factors that actually cause you to have what I mean by this is, I want to use the example of H-1B visas. The reason why H-1B visa system exists on paper is because there are certain highly skilled positions that, as it stands, our American companies are unable to fulfill. They're not able to fill those roles with
But the reality is they just don't want to fill them at a certain dollar amount, and they know they can take cheap labor from India and bring them into these jobs to fuck over the average American worker. Greedy corporations.
Domestic labor force, right? That's on paper. In practice, of course, it creates a more pliable labor force that you're bringing in, oftentimes from highly skilled countries that are still desperate, even if there is higher wages on average on the H-1B visa program, because if you lose your job, you get deported. Nobody wants to get deported, so they will do everything in their power to stay and work as hard as they physically possibly can. So this creates an environment where I think our bosses, our capital owners in America, are like, why would I get an American worker who is, in comparison to an Indian worker that's coming into the country that is desperate to keep this job? Why would I hire the American worker? I can pay the same fee to the Indian worker, or even a higher fee, as a matter of fact, to the Indian worker, because I know that he is going to work harder than the American labor force. So there is this competition. The way to solve that competition is...
That's not even the best. This isn't even like the best. God, he's so fucking retarded. That's okay, he's venturing out. This is good. I support you, son. You're good for trying to do this. But like, what you just said justifies justifies their hiring, right? You know, like, I could pay somebody this, or I could pay this guy this, who will work harder for the same wage or whatever. Well, shouldn't they hire that person then? Is that not? Unless you want to just get strictly into like this kind of like native protectionist idea that like, well, fuck that. I don't care about who works better with the most efficient thing. I just want to protect my own country's workers.
Through regulation. If the workers that were coming in from poorer countries were coming in with the knowledge that they are not going to be immune to unemployment, for example, and they have wage parity with the domestic labor force, this would actually make American companies think twice before hiring someone just as a replacement for the American worker, because they wouldn't get any additional benefits as a boss. They wouldn't get the additional benefit of like, I'm going to work in Gabon, right? Because I know if I fire you, you're gone out of the country and you won't be here. So that is a regulatory mechanism that we never implement in this country, because our capital owners actually enjoy the future of labor structure.
And come back to the who cleans the toilets, even when there's social welfare.
I think that ultimately there's going to be people that fulfill these roles no matter what, and increasingly with automation and AI, we're getting to a point where the route tasks are already being delegated to robots to begin with. So the way I see it, ultimately there's going to be structure.
And come back to the who cleans the toilets, even when there's social welfare.
I think that ultimately there's going to be people that fulfill these roles no matter what, and increasingly with automation and AI, we're getting to a point where the route tasks are already being delegated to robots to begin with.
I love how socialists always just like assume away the hard parts of their problems, right? Like, what are you going to do with labor, or people who might not necessarily be the more productive members of society or whatever, or who's going to do? Well, AI and tech will solve
So the way I see it is, there's always going to be someone that is tasked with either overseeing it, it's all about doing it, or directly doing it. But since it's an important factor in the commodity production, because someone has to engage in sanitation, I think it's much more valuable to ensure that they have a sense of autonomy and that those positions are hired and have enough replacement labor force so that they do less hours in general and still get a decent amount of pay, and so that they can still feel and have some sense of autonomy in the labor force where they can do that job and still make an honest living and feed their family and also have some free time on the side to pursue whatever hobby.
So the way to achieve that would be like what, a redefined living wage, or like what's the way to get there? Like, because I agree with the idea that people who are working every kind of job.
A question I don't know the answer to is how much do we incentivize immigrants learning English? Do we like give them free schooling, or do we not care because their kids will learn English after or either naturally? I personally, that's one of the few pro-Nazi talking points that I actually agree with. I don't know if we should go as far as to have like a national language, but I do think that like encouraging heavily or getting people, like everybody should speak the same language. I think it's pretty important. I think so far it seems like it's not a particular problem in the United States, but like if it ever became a problem, obviously we should do something to alleviate that, yeah. But I think it's important that everybody should be able to communicate with each other.
People should have free time and a good living. The question is, how do you do that? Because in a market economy, what you are paid is a function of what you produce.
Well, I think in the market economy, what you are paid should be what you produce. I don't think that that's how it works in market.
Oh my god, it's boring. It's still going to be a function of what you produce. Yes, you have a boss that takes away part of your profit or part of your surplus value of your labor, but that doesn't mean that you're still not paid based upon your production, right? Like, yeah, your boss is stealing money from you if you're a software dev or if you're a McDonald's worker, but you're a software dev and a McDonald's worker.
The economy. I think in the market economy, your replaceability is what determines your wages, especially if you are replaceable by a non-domestic labor force, for example. That depresses your wages even further on the domestic or the citizen labor force. So I think you're right, though. In the market economy, your output should be the determining factor. That's actually the socialist model, ironically enough. Not all socialists are against the market, and I would say that I'm probably the most conservative factor in that regard. I agree.
How do you square away that from each according to his whatever, each according to his needs? What is it? From each according to his abilities? According to how do you square that?
What that means is that if the company is actually, for example, increasing its output and therefore generating more revenue overall, then everyone down to the most replaceable aspect of labor, which is sanitation in this regard, should still get paid a just wage, a fair compensation. Minimum wages is one way of doing it. It's a band-aid solution. I mean, but there are Nordic countries, for example, where there isn't. The minimum wage would be a depressive factor on the overall average wages that people get. However, they achieve this, though, they've achieved this through sectoral bargaining, they've achieved this through robust unions, and labor participation in these in wage negotiations. And that is the reason why they don't need to have a minimum wage. The minimum wage in and of itself is a big point of contention in the United States of America and a lot of other Western countries, only because our labor union participation in the United States is at less than 10% right now, which is unimaginably low. It's more in countries that we have dominated, like Chile, where we rewrote their constitution basically and wanted to unleash a wave of neoliberalism, sometimes in the hands of a dictator like Pinochet. Even in that country, there's still 15% labor union participation, which is still higher than the United States of America, which is crazy to me.
Hassan, I've got a lot of empathy for some of your positions, particularly when you talk about skilled labour. So, for context, my mother is a Venezuelan immigrant to the UK. When she was in the UK, she was a childminder. There was no minimum wage. My mum, roughly, I remember earning £2.20 an hour. There were no pension rights. So, thankfully, I help my parents out, my dad helps my mum out, so she's not destitute. But that's what my mum's position would be if she didn't have me or my father. As somebody who is from Venezuela, I worry when people mention socialism because I've seen it attacked in my country. How would you assuage the fears of people like me or people who come from a Cuban background who see the socialist dream, as it were, descend into authoritarianism?
Well, first and foremost, I would say that all countries, to varying degrees, engage in authoritarianism in general. It's just something that it's a function of that. It obviously has the capacity to get out of hand due to external factors and instances like combating much more powerful forces that want to cause instability in your country. It's not a justification for it, but it is analysis in terms of like why these guys engage in the actions that they do in terms of suppression of all dissent or even censorship and jail time. And the example I always use is the United States during the Cold War, but even preceding the Cold War, during World War I and World War II, actually had a practice of jailing all the conscientious objectors, for example. We say, I don't want to fight this war. We're like, all right, well, we're in World War II, we're going to jail.
They always do. I wish somebody would say, like, well, wouldn't we want to be the country that can dominate the countries, so the ones that get dominated by it? Like, what's so bad? What's so weak about socialist countries that they can never resist this external influence? No? Is that not a fair question?
Examples is Eugene Debs, a socialist who actually ran from prison. And 3 million votes at the time, which was probably the most electoral success socialists had ever achieved. He was a conscientious objector of World War I, which was the international Marxist position at the time. There was some deviation there. So I see it in a similar vein when these countries also engage in authoritarian actions like suppressing dissent, censorship, or trying to manage this dynamic of trying to continue doing governance while at the same time they have to like make sure that they're avoiding American and Western intervention in general. As far as the fears that people have, assuaging the fears that people have in terms of what they've seen in their countries, whether it be Venezuela or Cuba, I think each country is different. Each successful and unsuccessful revolution is different, and I think it's important to understand the lessons and the failures, as well as some of the areas of success that these countries have been able to implement. Avoid the failures and try to focus on the successes, and hopefully you'll be able to have a long-standing and relatively happy form of governance.
I mean, I take a point as to the conscientious objector, but you look at Venezuela, for example, and then the reason I'm using it is because that's the example I know best.
Yeah.
You know, you've got rigged elections, you've got politicians who go up against Maduro, they're either thrown in jail, as in the case of Leopoldo Lopez, solitary confinement for 2 years, or you have, I think it's Corina Machado, who got nominated for a Nobel Peace Prize. She is currently in hiding in her own country because she knows the moment that her whereabouts are known, she's going to get thrown into jail, may not be seen again.
Yeah. I'm not going to defend Maduro, but I would say that the logical through line, and it's important to understand the opposition's logical through line in this instance, is that these are forces that are very directly working with the United States of America that have tried to facilitate coups, even had an unsuccessful one all the way back in 2002 with Chavez, and numerous other instances, openly talked about implementing coups under the first Trump administration, and is openly now waging war, or at least threatening to wage war with Venezuela right now, encircling the entire coastline of Venezuela with some of the most sophisticated weaponry known to man. In that regard, I think they see it as treason. I would go so far as to say, in a similar scenario in the United States of America, I think this is not even a one-to-one dynamic because America is the most powerful nation on the planet, but China is getting up there, right? Let's see if China had, in a hypothetical, China had encircled America, and let's say in this hypothetical, I'm like very clearly someone who is going to China and talking to the CPC and saying like, we want Chinese intervention in this country because I hate Donald Trump, please. I think in that regard, America would probably treat me in the exact same way, if not in a worse way, ironically enough.
But would they throw you in jail for trying to run democratically? I don't think personally that they would.
They absolutely would. You think the American government would?
Hassan is such a great example here. Didn't we literally ban communist parties in the United States? Didn't you watch Oppenheimer? Didn't they do that? The communist control act of 1954. Oh, that's a no? Wait, did we not make this? It was an American law signed by President Dwight Eisenhower that outlawed the Communist Party USA and criminalized membership in or support for the party or communist action organizers. Why are people in chat saying no? Am I misunderstanding this? Couldn't you point to this as an example?
Not throw me in jail if I was in a comparable scenario where China had encircled the United States of America and I was saying I want to run democratically, I want to be, and I'm demanding that China intervene. I think they would do the same, if not worse, for sure. Because like I said, it's all a matter of the conditions on the ground. With respect to using that, as I was talking about before, America don't threaten, even affect.
You're talking about wartime. Yeah. This is not a fair comparison, in my opinion, because wartime is about survival. Britain suspended elections during wartime, right? Like,
actually, they do the Civil War.
But Britain did. America wasn't war in the same way that Britain was.
That's why they did the Civil War.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's fair. But again, it's different. I guess you said something interesting, because, you know, I was born in the South East, so we both have to rate experiences in various shapes. When we talk about what is positive and is negative. So, is there a country that's done socialism the way that you like?
I would say that I am hypercritical of all forms of governance, including the American one. I think that's not a surprise to you guys, right? And in that same vein, I think like there is critiques to apply to all forms of governance, even the socialist ones.
Yeah.
And as far as like getting closer to what I think has been relatively successful, because if ultimately the point of government is to improve the material conditions of all people to the best of your ability, it's not always going to be perfect, but when you are getting, I don't know, the poorest people, the poorest of the dispossessed masses out of a situation where they were servile to landed gentry, or they were peasants from an agrarian society, or they were dominated by the landlord, but then ultimately they were able to come into modernity and become like a powerhouse, an industrial powerhouse that is competitive with the largest superpower on the planet. I would say if that's the point of good governance, and I think you guys might agree with me on that, I would say China is probably the closest. And there are still plenty of failures within the Chinese system as well, plenty of issues within the Chinese system as well, but that's probably the closest, I would say, to an example that we should follow and lessons that we should learn from. This is something that I talk about quite a bit. Ironically enough, we only utilize some of the most repressive elements of Chinese governance here in the United States of America, especially in the second Trump administration, and none of the good stuff. We don't have any high-speed rail. We don't have any even development.
What lessons should we have learned?
Seemingly nothing to look forward to in America in terms of economic prosperity, in terms of overall health of society, in terms of scientific achievements. And I think a lot of younger people also feel the same way, where they feel like there's nothing to look forward to here. And I'll give you guys an example from the UK. I remember seeing this TikTok, this guy that goes around and he's like asking young British people, would they serve in the British military? And I am not even remotely nationalistic by any measure. I don't care about those sorts of things. But I think it's important to understand, like, it's a good way to see the temperature of society. And a lot of the young British people were like, no, why would I fight for England? Why would I fight for the UK when it seems like my government's not even fighting for me at all? And
Willingly, a lot of them will say that, though. It's not so much about
Well, who are you fighting? Against who?
but not like China in terms of building high-speed rail. Although that is a big issue in the UK. Yes, I agree with you. The main reason is they feel like they've been let down by mass immigration that's eroding the values of their country. And of course, you know, this is where I think people on the right are very blind to this issue that we already raised, which is wealth equality and opportunity.
I'm sure there are some people who feel that way in sports, but
well, think about this this time, right? Hold on, let me just finish this point. Like, stereotypically speaking, is it left percent of people or right percent of people that are going to go and fight for their country? Typically, it's going to be right percent of people because of the mindset that they have, right?
I think when it comes to shove, everybody fights for the country, because that's why you have to have a draft.
In a war, but what we're talking about in this situation is will you go and serve in armed forces? That is going to be a more right-leaning perspective. And those people, we probably fair to say know the UK pretty well. Those people are concerned about the national identity of their country. It's like, why would I fight for a country that doesn't feel like my country? This
is where the big point of division comes for someone like myself. You're Venezuelan, originally, like your family came from Venezuela, your family came from the USSR. You guys are the most British people I've ever encountered.
Okay, British face, that's right.
Yeah, exactly. You're British to the bone.
Yeah.
And yet, your families also came from...
Oh no. Them both being white makes it very weird. Sorry, it's not helping his face as much as he would want it to.
Countries that were somewhat far away from England, right? And I'm Turkish. I grew up in Turkey. My whole family lives in Turkey still, with some exceptions. And I would say I'm pretty assimilated to American culture. I grew up being fascinated by American culture, grew up consuming American pop culture, as do many people all around the world. And what I always find interesting is when people focus on the newcomer to say that this is actually destroying the social fabric or social cohesion, not realizing that there are a ton of polls conducted on this stuff. I can just speak for America, especially, where by the second generation, assimilation is almost complete, and by the third one, it's like virtually impossible to distinguish in terms of performance, educational output, and job performance in general. It's just like everyone becomes American.
That's not true in the UK, though, unfortunately. So if you look at, for example, Islamist radicalization, second and third generation Muslims are much more radical than first generation.
Yeah,
so we're not. That's the issue that a lot of people in Britain are concerned about. Is not everyone's assimilating the way that the three of us are.
So here's the interesting point about that.
If they just have better material condition.
First, like I said, people assimilate, and they become a part of the normal forces of society. They become part of the culture, or they bring some aspect of their culture into British culture. They change the cuisine, and people seemingly enjoy it, even if they also simultaneously go attend a UDL rally and then get a little quick curry afterwards, or a little kebab on the side. But beyond that, the reason why people are angry is always going to be because the trains are not running, because the NHS is improperly managed due to underfunding. That's what I believe. I think it's always an issue of underfunding, where they're not getting the same services that they once used to, and also things are becoming more and more costly. So in that anger, it's much easier for them to be guided by the right-wing forces to turn around and say, you're angry and you're right to be angry. And the reason why you're angry, the reason why all of these things are happening is because you're importing all of these random strangers into the country who don't speak your language, who you are scared by, and that I think causes division and it causes friction that makes it harder for people to integrate. And that is part of the reason why I think, especially in places like the UK, you see a little bit more of this resilience towards full-blown integration into society.
I also think as well, Hassan, if we're being honest, it's also because we have had such huge amounts of immigration come into the country that people understandably go, this pace of change is too much. And you have to think, let's go back to 2016, which was the Brexit referendum. Now, Brexit was about many things, but really it was about people wanting immigration to be lowered. And that was not...
Thank you for finally admitting that. Pro-Brexit fucks. Stay back.
10 years ago, immigration hasn't been lowered. In fact, it's been ratcheted up. So people voted to lower immigration, and I'm sorry, this is I voted to remain. People voted Brexit. I'm like, well, that's democracy. We get on. We're going to make the best of it. I do believe that when you ignore people's wishes at the ballot box, because people explicitly vote for something and you ignore them for the best part of the decade, that does generate a lot of anger, and understandably so.
I think in that same time frame, if there was enough appetite by the government to address the financial harm that people were experiencing, the economic struggle that people were experiencing, there would still be a lot of people who say, I don't want a brown person, I don't want a white person around in the neighborhood, but ultimately those numbers would be far smaller. And that's what I always go back to. I'm a leftist. I believe in economic improvements, and I believe that a lot of the reactionary forces actually take advantage of that instability, the economic volatility that exists, in an effort to shift the attention away to people who have the same exact interests as you and I do. Because ultimately, I don't believe that anyone's coming into the United States of America or the UK, as a matter of fact, because they want to bring about a Salafist-style Islamic caliphate in London. I know you want to agree with it.
Remember, I love you Americans, don't compare your shit. When you're gonna talk about another country's immigration, you just need to be learned on that other country's immigration. Even on Canada, it's not one-to-one. You have to be very, very, very careful when you make those things. Americans have been mind-fucked by the actual putrid sludge that is currently occupying our White House and the entire Republican MAGA apparatus movement into being mind-fucked with open borders and mass immigration and all these. You don't even know what that looks like. You don't.
Seems he
I'm sorry,
failed
but like,
to handle
again, if
the
I was
void's
European and I was a
power.
racist, I would pull
So
myself.
much for their
Watching
mighty
American
elder.
point out on God and say that's a radical Islamist right there. If I was a fucking monger, if I was European, I would.
What is this place?
That Americans are
Everything's in
fucking retarded.
pieces.
Just if you're,
I
I'm
don't
just
like
only
this
to
at
say
all.
not
You
to
seem a little-
validate their
He
arguments, not to say
might
that
be
they're
kind
right
enough to-
immigration is bad here, blah blah blah. I'm just saying that if you're going to argue something like immigration, you need to be aware of the country's concerns and their history with it. Because America just, if for no other reason, geographically, we have such a special relationship with the rest of the world that it's so much harder to get to our country. It's so much harder to get to our country. Like imagine you're doing like an Olympic event and here's my Olympians and here's like the other people's Olympians, and imagine that their Olympians have like a set of stairs to get to the top, and my Olympians have a platform where they just have to do a singular long jump to get here. By the end of the day, all of my Olympians are going to be better than the people over here because they can just fucking walk the stairs, just fucking walk up.
That's good.
The only people getting up
I'm
here
sure you
have to
have
do some serious shit to
many
do that.
quest
There's not
ice
poor,
cut
retarded,
out.
terrorist, evil
If
people
I
coming from
then
fucking Morocco
close
to
your
the United
eyes
States of America.
and focus
Go
on
to
the
Portugal or
potential
Spain,
you
or
wish to
why
wield
the fuck that's
as
just, it's
I
incredible.
guide
If for
the
no other reason,
shades
ignoring
to
all the
you.
other aspects for immigration selection and everything else, just don't mind. That's insane. Maybe you can compare some European countries here, but not the U.S. to other countries in Europe. It's so stupid.
Want to bring about a Salafist-style Islamic caliphate in London. I know you won't agree with me on
It's
this.
not about whether I agree, it's about whether the facts agree.
I don't think
well,
that's the case.
Hold on,
I think
let me just give you some facts then. So we have a terrorist attack on a monthly basis by an Islamist effectively. We just had 2 in the space of the last month as we're recording this. 33% I think of British Muslims want Sharia law in Britain, like according to polls. More than half want to ban. Hold on. Well, we can put them in for
No
people
shit,
to see. More
because
than half
you don't know
want to
anything
ban
about the
homosexuality,
UK.
right? So when you say people aren't coming in to introduce an Islamist stuff, well, some of them want to if they're in a position to do so. We have 5 MPs who are effectively elected on a sectarian ticket, like as in we are Muslims, vote for us because you're a Muslim.
Who would you say those MPs are?
The 5 independent MPs, they're called the Gaza MPs or whatever way you want to call them.
Are you talking about like Zara Sultana?
I don't know if she's one of them. I think one of them's called Adnan Hussein. There's 5 of them. You can look them up. You can put them into Google. Right. So I think it should be said that the overwhelming majority of British Muslims don't want Sharia law. But if 33% of them do, you can see why a lot of people who don't want Sharia law might be concerned about that, right?
Sure. I don't know what I haven't seen.
The annoying thing too about this guy is that like when you're a leftist, like a socialist communist, and you refuse to engage in any type of cultural or ideological analysis, and this is the feeling that I had when I turned when Ron Paul was in 2008. I must have been what, 20? This is like the epiphany that you come to after you've read your first Ayn Rand book and you're like a hardcore libertarian. You're like, oh my god, everything in life just comes down to like government regulation and the freedom to do what you want. And as long as that is fine, then every single person will make the ideal same choice. Like, no, hold on. There's a lot of different things that power people. There's a lot of different things that power people's ideological, or a lot of things that power people's motivations. And they can be ideological, they can be financial. That one propaganda model that the NSA or the CIA or whatever put together, demonstrating how Russia like flips agents onto their side. It's different things that can power people. Somebody look this up because I repeated this a lot to make sure I'm not lying about this. I repeat this a lot because I feel like I read it in the past, but I don't trust anything pre-Vyvanse. Wasn't it the fact that most of the Muslims that went to join ISIS were middle class? They weren't just poor, destitute people. They were middle class people in Europe that felt like they had no purpose and they weren't integrating well into society. Somebody look that up for me and see if I'm right or not. Go.
These polls, and I also don't know what British Muslims or the 33% that are saying they want Sharia law, like what they're talking about.
If you want stop
ISIS foreign fighters. Why do foreigners join the caliphate? The number of ISIS foreign fighters is positively correlated with a country's GDP per capita and its HDI. So positively correlated meaning they both. So the higher a country's GDP per capita and the higher they are on the Human Development Index,
I see
the more likely,
we will
or the higher the number of
meet
ISIS
again.
foreign fighters. I'm assuming they control for populations other than anything else, but yeah, I don't know how much they have on information about the individual countries with large Muslim populations, such as Pakistan, India, and Indonesia have very few ISIS fighters relative to the size of the Muslim population.